Hello and welcome to OnPoint. I'm Monica Trauzy. With me today is Ann DeRay, Senior Vice President for Energy and Environment and External Relations and Chief Sustainability Officer at the Electric Power Research Institute. Thanks for joining me. Nice to see you again.
You too, Monica. Thank you.
So, Ann, as the regulatory landscape for the electric power sector shifts dramatically under the Trump administration, there are continued efforts to make the grid more efficient and reliable. As you consider sort of the current regulatory landscape, what are the elements you believe that could have the greatest impact on grid reliability, and are actions that are being taken by the Trump administration improving reliability?
So let me step back just 1 minute. And EPRI is a technology agnostic company. We're a not for profit for the public. And so what we want to do is look forward into the future to see how we can efficiently get a smooth pathway that is cost effective and sustainable and good for the public to get there. And you might ask, why? There's a cacophony of people out there predicting the future. Well, the one thing that we do, I think, that's different is we look at the future based on what the technology and demonstrations show us that we might be able to get there. And how can we do it efficiently? So when you talk about technologies and where the system is evolving, that's one thing we know for sure is that the future will change. And so do we want to help shape that future so that we can help those efficiencies? So let me give you an example on technologies. You mentioned technologies. Tremendous amount of renewables, tremendous amount of distributed energy generation. And there's lots of people who say, we don't need the infrastructure, that expensive infrastructure that has served us well for 100 years, the transmission system. And technologically, they are correct. They can move off of that transmission system. But then what happens? Then we have people that want to connect microgrids. And then they want to connect microgrid with microgrid because they want the resiliency and the backup, and they want to be able to use their distributed energy. And then all of a sudden we start connecting them with long lines. And then we're back to a transmission system. So let's just skip the inefficiencies and help us move using the infrastructure that we have to support and get the value out of some of the new technologies on the edge of the grid.
Regulation's a key driver for all of this, though, right?
Right. So one of the things that I think is really important is that physics trumps policy all the time. You can't direct the electron where it goes or the gas molecule where it goes. So it's very important for policymakers and regulators to be informed by the science and the technology. So what happens when I put a distributed energy on the edge of the grid? What happens to a system that was originally created for two-way power flow? What happens when there's technology outside the industry that can perturbate it? For instance, the third wave of energy efficiency, which is power electronics and materials that are totally separate with customer devices that are causing those efficiencies. What about the Bitcoin that changes the digital economy and allows peer-to-peer? What about the blockchain, which allows these transactions? So you need to look at all these technologies and how they work together to utilize the infrastructure we have.
And so as EPRI has been working on creating this pathway to a more efficient and reliable system, you've included the thoughts of advisors and leaders across many different disciplines. What's sort of the common thread of insight that you've heard from anyone as you've been doing this work?
So there's actually two common threads, and it starts with the consumer. The consumer actually only wants 5 things. And it's not dollars per kilowatt hour or BTU or molecules of water. They want comfort, convenience, choice, control, and they'd like it cost effectively. And so how does the regulator serve that need? The other thing we're seeing is that because the consumer wants to use and manage and produce energy the way they choose, is that we're seeing that the integration of different energy sources are now becoming more interdependent. You can't talk about electricity without talking about gas. You can't talk about gas and electricity without talking about water. And you can't talk about any of them without the advances in information and communication technology.
We have many new technologies down the pike that many people in the energy space are excited about. What are the next generation technologies for electric generation that you believe will do the best job of supporting these goals and initiatives?
So there's not one individual technology, but what I think is happening is the tremendous amount of synergies and opportunities because of the combination of technologies. For instance, when you combine an older power plant with information technology and the new sensors that are enabled by materials and power electronics, all of a sudden I can create a digital twin, something that Amazon may call a device twin or a device shadow. And I then can operate that digital twin, which is a electronic reconstruction of the actual physical facilities, and see what happens when I operate that system, allowing me to get even more efficiencies out of the system, more performance, and respond to that consumer who's making the choices they want to make, not ones that people are telling them to make.
I know that you recently presented all of this at the NARUC conference. I'm curious if you think that all the right people, all the right parties are engaging and talking with each other about this.
So what's interesting even in personal relationships is we all want to be understood. And so if you have people saying, let me talk at you so that you can understand my position, what we probably need more of as we bring these people together is to help them understand how it works together and what do you need to know. The consumer does not have to understand synthetic inertia and rotating equipment and voltage regulation to know that I want my power and I want to be convenient and I want 72 degrees. So when you bring the technology, the operations of the utility, the regulator, and the policymaker, it will take all four of those aspects to drive the market transformation that allows us to get to the future in a way that satisfies the needs for society effectively, economically, and sustainably.
Is a top-down national approach most effective, or should the states and the regional transmission organizations, regional systems be the ones who are leading the way?
So there's never, ever a one-size-fits-all, right? In some of the cases where you have the service or the product crossing multiple state lines or multiple geographic jurisdictions, whether it's in the States or in Europe and other countries, then oftentimes a higher central level, in the US case, a federal level would be appropriate. In those cases that are handled at a local organization or a local geographic area, those are often best handled by the people who are have the jurisdictional responsibilities there.
All right, we'll end it right there. Lots
Thank
of
you.
moving parts. Very
Thank you
interesting.
very much, Monica.
Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you.
And thanks for watching. We'll see you back here tomorrow.